So today I wanted to discuss a lot of the questions I get through YouTube and through Instagram and through emails from all of you who watch the channel. The first one I want to discuss is, why don't I ask for followers and likes? If you like the channel, you're going to follow me. If you like the video, you'll like the video. I don't think you have to be told. I'm not pushing for mega followers on this channel because it's a casual thing for me. This isn't something I'm looking to do to make a full-time income. I make my full-time income off of photography. I've done so for 42 years. Now, the next thing is camera systems. I know everybody has well, what happened to this camera? And what happened to that camera? Why aren't you using this? Why aren't you using that? Are you still using this lens? Not to discount any questions, but most of the time, none of that really matters. What you use and what I use or what anybody else uses really doesn't matter. It's what you're comfortable with using. For me, I love photography. I enjoy this more than anything in the world. And me coming into this really old age now, I'm still shooting full time, don't get me wrong, but I'm not doing professional sports like I used to and other things. I still have my commercial clients, which I need larger megapixel files for because they do, print work. But I also, a lot of my companies are switching over to straight online media. And, their campaigns are based around that online media. So I'm doing that a lot now, which, drew me to the OM systems or the Micro Four Thirds system because it does everything I needed to do for my clients in that space. So many of them are, we're not doing print, we're just doing online. We need this campaign shot. And for me, the appeal of the OM1 and the OM systems was the lens size. It's not only the body size. And it does have a lot of features that I will probably never use, but I'm playing with. Like that focus stacking. Right? I actually got the 60, is this a 60 or 65? 60 millimeter macro lens. I just started to play with it, because if I'm at a job shooting something for online, I'll be able to shoot macro if I need it. It's a nice feature to add. The lens was used $290, I think. It's ridiculous. And the quality is fantastic. For that type of situation and for all of those clients, this camera is plenty enough. Our mental space of bringing up the images on the computer and being able to zoom in so close, it's for us. It is not for a client. It is not for the end viewer. It is 100% for us. And, being in this business for as long as I have I would call it the insight to say, okay, I really don't need that. I want that. Don't get me wrong. A Hasselblad X2D with 100 megapixels. I love the form factor of the camera. I love the lenses. I don't need it. It's not going to do the job for me. It's just major overkill. I will get that rush when I bring it up on the computer or on the iPad and look at the images going, oh my God, this is amazing. But in the end, where it's going and the end result for this, it just doesn't mean anything. Because if I take that 100 megapixel file, scale it down to where it's going to be used for social media or online use, a lot of it disappears. Now, don't get me wrong, there's benefits to those kind of sensors. There's benefits to those kind of cameras. I love the Hasselblad system. Absolutely love it. I think the 16-bit color is just to die for. But paying the bills is the whole thing here. Now, photography as a whole, I think the last census showed photographers making an average throughout the United States of $19 an hour. And it goes from a low range of $38,000 for a full-time working photographer to $58,000 to $68,000. Now, this is case scenario, an average of the real world photography jobs. That's not saying someone working on their own or anything like that. Now, I've been in this business a long time, so I have my own studio, I have my own client base, and I do better than that. But, for a lot of people starting out, they're looking at all this big, heavy equipment. And, you think about the camera lifespan because, when that new camera comes out, oh my God, are you going to want it? And are we going to spend another $5,000, $6,000 on a new camera body because the new one's out? That's a big chunk out of a $19 an hour job. Just saying. Now, I know a lot of people in their heads want to go, I'm going to make more than that. If I get this camera system, if I get these lenses, I can make a lot more than that working on my own. It is nice to think about, but it's hard to get there. And it takes a lot of discipline. Not saying it can't be done. It can be done. But you've got to bring that into the conversation if you want to be realistic about this. The next thing is Leica. Why do you shoot Leica? I shoot Leica not because it's Leica, believe it or not, but because it's a rangefinder. And it's a true rangefinder, and I really enjoy shooting this. Now, I know the Leica purists or the doctors and lawyers and dentists that have these cameras, they have the camera body, they have the Leica lenses. Me, 90% of the time you see me, I'll be shooting a Voigtlander. This is the 35 Ultron. I love this lens. I shoot it a lot. I love the 35 1.2, the new one, Nocton version 3. Think it's fantastic. My most used Leica right now, believe it or not, is the 90 millimeter Elmrit. And I got that for under $1,000. It's not about the system as a whole or the prestige of owning this camera. It is about the use. And no matter what you use, you can use anything. And, you have to get over the hype or the lack of hype or the criticisms of any system, because when you pick it up and use it and it works for you and you feel good using it, that's the system for you. Forget all the noise. Just forget it. Like the OM system, people make fun of Micro Four Thirds left and right. But for my jobs right now, it is the perfect system, and it's what's making me money. I make more off that nickel and dime stuff for social media and online stuff because companies just want that now. It's funny that influencers, and not in the photography space, I'm sure there's some that do pretty well, but influencers as a whole, and we're talking, influencers that do makeup and hair and that kind of stuff. These influencers are making six figures, well above six figures. The last Forbes list had some on there that were making $30 million. You're not going to make that a photography, obviously, but for them, it's a lot more, it's a bigger space. More people buy makeup and so forth than they buy cameras, so they can make the money. But so many of them are using their iPhone and not a camera. Some of them use the expensive cameras and lighting and so forth, but many of them just use their iPhones, good editing skills, and it's making them money. For me, for those who say if you're going to shoot a Micro Four Thirds, you should just be shooting an iPhone. No, it doesn't work that way. This camera gives me everything I want and everything I need for those type of jobs. And the companies are thrilled with them, which I'm really happy to say, because I've been using this a lot on company jobs that are for social media or, marketing for online. It is perfect. It's what they want. They're happy with it. So this system is really nice for me. All the added features in here that I'll probably get to sooner or later just to play with, it's just fun. But when it comes right down to it, this Mark II version, I haven't missed many shots, any at all, for people. It just works. And to be able to shoot a job like that with this camera and make the money, what more can I ask for? When I bring this image up on my iPad or computer compared to my Leica, is there a difference? Hell yeah. This is a 60 megapixel. And it's, you have a lot to play with. But it's a personal, if I'm not shooting for a corporate client, it's just a personal thing. I love to see that. And it really is, it's a personal thing, because end images are either a print on a wall, a print in a magazine, or on social media. And if this company is just looking for social media, and so many of them are now, that's where marketing is today, this is overkill. But I love shooting with this. So, I shoot my events with this. I shoot my corporate clients with this because I have the room to play with the 60 megapixel. But when it comes right down to it, and for every other job, that Micro Four Thirds camera is killer. Back in the day when digital first came out, and I believe me, I started shooting digital in 2000, 2001 professionally. And it was a 2.1 megapixel camera. But I was shooting for newspapers, and they had all these separate newspapers. I made a fortune off of it because I was able to turn quicker than the guys shooting film. So that camera made me so much money. It was ridiculous. And that's when I was sold 100% on digital. I was just like, I'm not going back to film. I love the romance about film. I get it. But when it came to reality, when I was shooting film, I was shooting for a commercial studio, and we were in the darkroom, sometimes 8 hours a day, and the chemicals would seep into your skin. You could actually taste the chemicals. So that romance isn't really there for me for film. I remember this old timer that worked there, and he got his first digital camera. I think it was the Nikon 6 megapixel. And, the owner of the studio said, are you ever going back to film? And he goes, why the hell would I ever go back to film when I have this? And, so for us that did this for a living and used it so much, that glory and romance of film really isn't there as much as it is for young people, But, okay, I'm getting off track. I apologize. Anyway, so for me, personally, I use cameras and systems that do the job, that get the job done. And back then, there were smaller megapixels, but the problem was they were still doing print. So they demanded, we need a slide film, we need, 2.25 for this, we need large format for this. And, there was no leeway because the digital was not there yet, but they were still doing print work. And then the transition slowly went through where they're doing print work and digital. And now we're at the point where so much of it is straight digital. So much of it is social media and online marketing versus print. There's like hardly any print anymore. And we're shying away from the camera that's perfect for that and going to the cameras that, are higher megapixel, massive megapixel, when they're not really needed as much anymore. For 90% of the actual work jobs, you're not going to need 100 megapixel or 60 megapixel. There's just no reason for it. And if you're shooting a wedding, everyone wants full frame because they want that blurry background. Like all these fads that are dependent on a 1.2 with a full frame and so forth. It comes and it goes. And I've seen the roller coaster so many times because, again, I started in 1983 professionally as a photographer. Man, I saw trends go up and down so often. But, for me, the trend is getting the equipment that works for me for the jobs. And since so many companies are straight digital now, straight digital marketing, this is all I need. And they're really happy with it. I can honestly say without question, everyone I've delivered so far has been thrilled with the images, no issues whatsoever. And this system is just, I never have to worry about it in the weather. I never have to worry about carrying heavy equipment. This is it. It just does the job. For everything else, I have my Leica. It's 60 megapixels. It does the job for my commercial work. I haven't had a complaint about color or color depth so far, knock on wood. And I do have one client that insists me using a Hasselblad. And believe me, I rent when I need to for the lenses and so forth, because I just don't want to buy into that system and take that kind of hit financially. Anyway, I hope that answers a lot of your questions with, both system, the channel. I'm not discounting, the likes and the followers and stuff like that. I appreciate all of you that do follow, and I love it. But, I'm not pushing for it because, the more followers you have and the more people on here, the more dumb questions or dumb comments you get. No offense to you that made the dumb comments, but don't ever, regret asking a question that you think may be dumb. It doesn't matter. If it's a question that's like, because you don't know, it's not dumb. It's just ignorant to the answer. And I have no problem answering those. Okay, this was a long rant, but I hope I answered all your questions. Thanks for watching as always, and I appreciate all of you.